More than 9 years after the United States invaded Afghanistan to drive out al-Qaeda, which had just launched the 9/11 terror attacks, America is still bogged down in a seemingly endless fight against Islamic insurgents there. But in his long-awaited review of the war, Mr. Obama said the surge of an additional 30,000 troops that he began just over a year ago is producing results.
This continues to be a very difficult endeavor. But I can report that thanks to the extraordinary service of our troops and civilians on the ground, we are on track to achieve our goals. Along with our Afghan partners, we've gone on the offensive, targeting the Taliban and its leaders and pushing them out of their strongholds.
In recent months, the U.S. has concentrated its military efforts in the traditional Taliban strongholds of Kandahar and Helmand provinces in the south of the country. The strategy has brought some results at the cost of the highest American casualties since the war began, almost 500 U.S. troops killed so far this year.
Progress is being made on the ground, and they will point to the fact that in many of the places which were just a couple of months ago impossible for their forces to even walk around in now, they seem to have clearly gained the upper hand. Over the long run, it still is a 50-50 proposition.
Yet Mr. Obama conceded the progress is not well established.
In many places, the gains we've made are still fragile and reversible. But there is no question we are clearing more areas from Taliban control, and more Afghans are reclaiming their communities.
But with much of Afghanistan under Taliban control or threatened by the insurgents, some observers feel even Mr. Obama's modest claims of progress are too optimistic.
I think that is the case, that there has been very isolated security gains, especially in Kandahar and in Helmand in the south, where the military operations have focused. But I would make the case that the overall progress has not occurred. And I don't think the Obama administration talked about sort of the big picture. They really just spoke about it in terms of isolated cases.
Nearly everyone agrees on the two big obstacles hindering America's war against the Taliban. The first is that Afghanistan's government under President Hamid Karzai is widely perceived as corrupt and ineffective.
We have a shaky partner in the Afghan government that does not have sufficient legitimacy in large pockets of the country.
The other problem is that the Taliban is able to use northwest Pakistan as a safe haven.
The second major problem is, which is what everybody acknowledges, including the Obama administration and others, is the sanctuary problem in Pakistan. The Haqqani network, the Quetta, these elements of the insurgency are able to retreat there. Even when the military operations are fierce, they're able to cross the border and rest, hide out, train, fundraise, and recruit.
Pakistan has allowed the U.S. to step up its use of aerial drone attacks on insurgents on its side of the border. Pakistan has also carried out its own attacks on insurgents. But U.S. officials believe the Pakistani intelligence services continue supporting some Taliban elements.
So we will continue to insist to Pakistani leaders that terrorist safe havens within their borders must be dealt with.
Under President Obama, America has both increased its troop strength in Afghanistan and done more to strengthen local government administrations there. Some analysts think there are other things the U.S. could do as well.
I think a reconciliation process with the insurgents has got to be part of that, as well as a political reform process that addresses some of the legitimacy problems with the Karzai government. But also there has to be a regional diplomatic solution that has buy-in from Pakistan, India, Iran, Central Asian countries, and other regional powers. But that's where the focus has got to be. Military operations, an extension of the Kabul government throughout the country, I do not think will lead us to a stable Afghanistan.
Senior American diplomat Richard Holbrooke was leading the moves to find regional diplomatic solutions. Observers say his sudden death from a burst aorta last week is a blow to those efforts. President Obama was able to point to some progress in the war in Afghanistan, but he admitted the gains are fragile and could be reversed. There is wide agreement that American efforts are being undermined by Afghanistan's weak and unpopular government and by the sanctuary that Afghan insurgents find in neighboring Pakistan. And neither of those two problems appear close to being solved. For Political Agenda, this is Burton Bolag in Washington.